keep this on me for now, right now.
Uh-oh.
I was the one telling the people out here, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, if they lost the first 2 football games of the season, would still be in the hunt to make a college football playoff. I talked to Joe Lisi quite a bit during the week, and you know what Joe Lisi's been telling me? Notre Dame just might be the best football team in the country right now, and I believe him. I do. Rolling over teams. The offense is out there right now, and I don't think anybody can stop them.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Is it going to be Gabriel over the next 4 or 5 weeks? Or is it going to be...
I know.
Is it going to, but that's where they're at right now. Because that mentality, changes. We go from rebuild at 1-3 to all of a sudden at 2-3, the bell goes off, and he in his head, probably drinking a beer at night, goes, hey, I can get this team to the playoffs.
Listen,
but that's the way these coaches think.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
So let's just start right there. Malik Neighbors, Tyreek Hill, done for 2025. Think of the managers that invested the draft capital. Man, oh man, what to do?
Yeah, this is really tough. I had people message me, man, I had Neighbors and Hill, and I lost them both in the same week. That's tough. It's a tough day at the office for sure, and that's why you watch us here on FST, Fantasy Sports Today. We're trying to help you.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
At this event, people from Amazon and Alexa made it very clear that in addition to Sports Highlight coming up, you will be able to perhaps buy sports tickets to events, buy movie tickets, arrange fantasy football teams, and I think somewhere down the road, maybe not too far down the road, given the NBA on Prime deal, they will allow sports betting on the television set through Alexa Plus.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Good afternoon. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, getting you ready for another big night in the National Football League and, of course, in Major League Baseball as well. We'll break it all down for you throughout the show. Thanks for tuning in. We got some big news in sports betting, and also, what in the world is going on with Bill Belichick at Chapel Hill at the University of North Carolina? Could this thing be coming to an end soon? Still no word on exactly what is going on, and we'll get to that statement as well. We'll also bring in some special guests here on the show. Joe Lisi is going to join us. We'll talk some college football. Our very own Paul Stone, who appears with us every Thursday, has got 3 games in college football, and he's been really hot. He's going to give them out here on the show as well, so stay tuned throughout the program. But let's start with the big sports betting news of the day here, which essentially is that if you are a collegiate athlete, there is a chance, now again, not official, but there is a chance that you're going to be able to bet on sports, but just not on collegiate sports. Keep that in mind. Right now, there's a potential change that's coming as the NCAA has faced an increasing number of alleged betting violations by student athletes in years, and so they're looking to potentially regulate this and figure out a way that the NCAA could allow athletes to bet on the pros. So that would mean if you're a collegiate athlete, you could bet on the NFL. You could also bet on the NBA, but you would have to stay away from betting on your own sport. This way it makes it easier for them to monitor. They know exactly who is doing what. Some people feel like this opens up a can of worms. I think this opens up more regulation for sports, and it allows athletes to be involved if they choose. Again, you still have to be of legal age in the States as well. Okay, so yesterday, a report came out yesterday from a gentleman who covers collegiate athletes. His name is Ali Connolly. And he went on social media yesterday and told the world that Bill Belichick is looking to get out of his contract at the University of North Carolina. I mean, folks, he hasn't been there a year. In fact, there's only been a few games left that have happened during the season. But apparently, according to this report, he's willing to trigger his own $1 million buyout if he can find another job. That's the only part of this report that seems a little odd to me. Doesn't it seem odd to you that the only way that he would trigger the buyout is if he had another job? I got news for you. Bill Belichick is not getting another job right now in coaching at any level for the time being. That doesn't pass the sniff test to me as somebody who's reported for a long time. But listen, where the tea leaves have been out there, we know that this is not going well for Bill Belichick, and there's pictures of him, on the bye week, not even being around the team. Who knows? But then after that, a release came out from the University of North Carolina, which is even more surprising because generally when something like this happens, you don't put out a release because if it's nonsense, you don't need to. But quotes, here they are from Bill Belichick in North Carolina. I'm fully committed to UNC football and the program that we're building here. Why does a statement even need to come out? It's very, very odd story. Set of circumstances even odder. Hopefully we'll get some resolution. My prediction, by the way, for anybody that cares, is that Bill Belichick is not coaching another game at the University of North Carolina. There's too much out there for this to continue. We'll see. Don't bet on that, by the way. I'm not advising that bet. Okay, Phillies are back in the series with the Dodgers. They win last night and essentially clobber the pitchers on LA, including Clayton Kershaw. Kyle Schwarber hit 2 home runs, and they're alive and well in the series. They'll play again today. They're going to need to win again today to send this back to Red October at Citizens Bank Ballpark. If the offense of the Phillies comes alive, then yes, this could potentially be a series, but they're going to need to do it yet again today. We'll see if that ends up happening. Here's Kyle Schwarber, who has a ton of postseason experience, talking about what it's like.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been very fortunate to be in a lot of postseason games in my career, and it's just the best form of baseball. I sincerely believe that it doesn't matter. Like I said, you could be hitting 100 or you could be hitting 500. Did you win the game at the end of the day? That's all that matters. So, that's why it's just such a fun format. You're just grinding. You're trying to find a way to win a baseball game, and it's going to work out. Sometimes it's not going to work out, but at the end of the day, the preparation is still going to be there. The intensity is going to be there, and the buy-in from everyone's going to be there.
We had an early opportunity in that first situational at bat versus Nola, and then they, after 2 innings, they went to Ranger. Tommy leads off that, gets that first homer. And then after that, I just felt that we just couldn't put anything together versus Ranger, the cutter, the sinker, the changeup mix, and just obviously really didn't threaten in any capacity. And he threw the ball well tonight.
Let's move on to the series in the American League that came to an end yesterday. The New York Yankees in the Bronx are going home. The Blue Jays are moving on. Toronto heads to the American League Championship Series with a 5-2 win as they take care of business, and really, I would say, deserved it. They played absolutely the better series. Yankees did come back to win 1 game in this thing, but the Blue Jays pitching has been better, especially the starting pitching, and also timely hitting, very critical to the Blue Jays lineup. So what does it all mean with John Schneider, manager of the team, says it's chemistry that got them this far?
I think because they're a really close group. I think they're talented, and we had some big name guys do some big things, and we had some guys that have been doing it all year do some things that they normally are pretty good at. So it's a really close group, and if I've said it to you guys once, I've said it a million times. They're really good at turning the page to the next thing that's important. So just happy for everyone that was involved, and kind of fitting that it took everyone to win today.
The ending's the worst, right? Especially when you have a really good group and a group of guys that really came together so well, at the right time. The final couple of months, this was a team, and it's a team that played for one another, did a lot of really good things, and we got beat here. Credit to the Blue Jays and the year they've had, and they beat us this series. Simple as that.
Yankees got all the way to the World Series last year. This year came up well short of that. We'll see what changes are made with the Yankees in the offseason. Meanwhile, the Brewers and Cubs series does roll on. Cubs take care of business in Game 3. Close game, 4-3. You see the final there. They'll move on and play once again this evening. There's a chance that the Brewers can still wrap it up, but the Cubs could potentially send this back to Milwaukee if they win tonight, and that would mean there is a Game 5. Speaking of which, back to the American League we go. Game 5 between the Mariners and Tigers is all set for Friday night. It's a winner-take-all scenario as Detroit comes through, scores 9 runs thanks to Riley Green and company. They beat Seattle 9-3, and the Tigers are still alive for one more game in which they will likely have Tariq Skubal start. So that's all they can ask for. Meanwhile, tonight, 6:08 Eastern, the Phillies will take on the Dodgers. Dodgers can wrap it up. Phillies can keep it alive. Brewers can also wrap up their evening tonight and their series against the Cubs, but they'll got to play that one at Wrigley Field. A lot of baseball tonight, and if you're not watching baseball, maybe it's football. Eagles will take on the Giants this evening in the Thursday night affair over on Amazon Prime. 7.5-point favorites are the Eagles at New York, total of 40.5, low total tonight. A lot of these Thursday night games tend to be low scoring. The Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski, says that he's not yet ready to name Shedeur Sanders the number 2 quarterback. Now that Joe Flacco is in town, it'll be Sanders or Bailey Zappi. Jaguars make a trade yesterday, getting cornerback Greg Newsome and send Tyson Campbell to the Browns. Brock Purdy for the San Francisco 49ers this week, not practicing. It looks like Mac Jones could start again this week against Tampa Bay. Brad Thomas is up next. He's going to break down all the games for us. We'll be right back after this.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
60,000 drunk New Yorkers who were there from 5 in the morning to 7 p.m., who dropped a house mortgage on a ticket to watch the United States team miss every putt that they can possibly miss, and you think someone's not going to get pissed off and curse people out? Wah! The golf fan wasn't civil. Wah!
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
What worries me, for the future, for the rest of this season for the 49ers is Christian McCaffrey, because all these other guys are out. This guy is getting more workload than anybody else in the NFL. The catches, the carries, the blocking, the chip blocks, the protection. He is just being worked over, and I don't think that is, real good for the 49ers.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
The Americans got to find answers in these partnerships, and I think they need to look at their who's making these decisions from a stat standpoint.
Well, it's so funny to me, especially coming off of the Walker Cup just a few weeks before, how it just seems like there's this glaring chasm between American partnered match play and American individual, singles match play.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We're getting a lot of optimism here, which I don't know about. This isn't a 21-year-old football player, a devastating knee injury that basically blew, the kneecap and also multiple ligaments. And I was like, surgery, awesome, be back for next year. He might be back for next year, but the Tyreek Hill we're used to, Joe, electric on the field where nobody can catch him. People are going to be catching him now, Joe.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. If you like props, this time is for you. Brad Thomas is with us, always willing to give us a few of his opinions on some of the games and some of the prop bets. And he joins us now. And we got to, I don't know. Should I lie to everybody, Brad, and say we got a good game tonight? I'm not going to do that. I don't know that we will or not. I may be watching baseball tonight. I'm just being honest here. Eagles, Giants. I kind of know who the Eagles are, and I generally think game after game, they're going to perform for one half. They're the best one half football team in the NFL, Brad. Either the first half or the second half. I'm not sure which one, but they only show up for one half. The Giants, unsurprising to me last week, Brad, fell flat against the Saints.
Yep.
The Saints were one of my better opinions of the week last week, just because I wasn't feeling that one game against the Chargers. I felt like they get a little bit of a boost. But this line is sort of telling me, I don't know about you, it's sort of telling me that the Eagles are mad and they're going to win this game big tonight, or else they wouldn't set a 7.5 on the road. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a massive number for a divisional game on the road, 7.5 points. And then when you think about the last two times these teams met was like a 3-point spread, right? The Eagles did cover in both of those games, but it's a really interesting spot for both teams because I think both should come in with a little bit of excitement. The Giants coming off a loss, giving the Saints their first win, and then the Eagles coming off that loss, that disappointing loss. But I actually do think the Eagles are going to win and cover in this game, but that's definitely not my best bet. I have two bets that I like more, and of course, they're in the player prop market. That first one is Jackson Dart, over 35.5 rushing yards. Yeah, it's good at 36.5 and 37.5 if you're getting close to even money there. 50-plus rushing yards in both of his first two starts as an NFL quarterback. The Eagles allow a high scramble percentage. We've talked about this week after week. But more importantly for Jackson Dart, it's been one of those situations where if things break down, he is going to use his legs. I think he'd much rather use his legs, especially coming off a 2-interception performance, than force a ball into a tight window and get picked off and make his team get way behind in the turnover margin.
Gotcha. Luke, let's throw that graphic up there with the rushing yards. Let's start there because Brad went there already. We may as well continue. Let me add something to this conversation. And Brad, I was very fortunate last week that my weekend was just so busy Friday and Saturday that I was allowed in my home to watch all the NFL games on Sunday. I got them all in. So here's what I would say about that bet that you're making there on Jackson Dart. I think you're going to know right away if you're going to hit or not. Because if I watched that game closely. If you noticed, the Saints completely took that away in the second half. They had somebody spying Jackson Dart in that second half. Like you could see he was like kind of going for it, and they were like, no, that's not going to happen. So it's a good look. I don't say I dislike it. I just think that you're going to know almost immediately in that one what's going to happen because the Saints were very savvy to that in the second half of that game. Barkley's number 86.5. I believe he'll probably play. Jalen Hurts is 40. Cam Scatterbo, they don't have anybody else, 48.5. Speaking of not having anybody else, Wan'Dale Robinson, 43.5 for Wan'Dale Robinson, and Theo Johnson at 28.5. We're missing somebody on this list here. Who's the guy tonight for the Giants, Brad? There's got to be somebody other than those two. I know they don't have household names. There's got to be somebody, though.
I mean, with the injury to Slayton as well, like you just start to scratch your head and figure out how they're going to be productive through the air, especially this is not a bad pass D for the Eagles, 8th in EPA per pass on defense, which is still pretty good. I think it's got to be Wan'Dale Robinson. He has to have a bigger impact. He has to be the guy, and I don't know if he can, who can kind of or try to fill the target volume that Malik Neighbors had. Theo Johnson was a good story last week. I don't know if it's replicated. You did touch on rushing yards with Saquon Barkley. I think at 86.5, he's a boomer bust. Saquon Barkley's got to be the man that's going to be 100 plus or better. And I think that's the only way you can play that there. But I'm just going to stay away from all pass catchers in this New York Giants offense. This game does have a real possibility to get out of hand. And then I don't want to guess who's going to catch passes or guess who they're going to take out and lick their chops and get ready for the next week.
Yeah, I don't know either. And in my fantasy leagues, I didn't pick up anybody on the Giants. It's my confidence level there. Eagles, by the way, their season win total 11.5. Not much has changed. Even eventually they had to lose, so you're not going to see a big adjustment from last week. Still 7-1 to win the Super Bowl. Still plus 350 to win, and a massive favorite in the East. Speaking of the East, I think that everyone should have learned their lesson before last week, and I think maybe they've learned it now. Jaden Daniels is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's very much right at the top, and when he plays, you can't make the Commanders a dog. He's great. So this week there's been a slight adjustment. I don't even know that it's enough. You tell me. Commanders minus 4.5 against the Bears, total 49.5. Odds makers are certainly telling us that the Washington defense isn't that great, and maybe the Bears can have their way with that. But with Daniels as signal caller of Washington, I believe they'll be very competitive each and every week.
Yeah, I think the Commanders will be competitive, and they also found a run game with Bill Krosky-Merritt. He's been running rampant. He actually is the highest-rated PFF running back. And then if you look at EPA per rush, He has less than 50, so I'm going to go to 40 carries or more. He's the number one in EPA per rush in the NFL. Bears rush defense, not good. They have 54.7 PFF run D grade, 19th in EPA per rush. And I think the Commanders, if you can't stop the Commanders' run game, how are you going to stop Jaden Daniels over through the air? And then on the other side of the ball, the Bears have struggled to run the ball. I don't know if it's DeAndre Swift not finding the hole, which happens way too often, or their offensive line not getting the push necessary for him to get those yards. I think against a really, really strong Commanders run D, the Bears are going to have trouble. Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze have been really nice. I like Rome's receiving over, but I don't think that means they're going to be live to win this game. I probably think it's a little bit too high at 4.5, but not high enough to the point where I think the value is on the Bears.
Final game we'll break down here, Brad. Chargers, Dolphins. They've made the Chargers a 4.5-point favorite. And by they, meaning the people who were betting, because this opened lower. It's now moved up. And I guess the confidence is there that the Chargers basically had a blip on their radar the last couple of weeks, and they fell short. Total 43.5 in this game. Miami coming off a pretty embarrassing loss to the Panthers. That's my hesitation here, is I usually like to back those kind of teams that really don't look good one week. It's the NFL, you know?
I think it's Chargers or nothing for me. They are really banged up, left tackle out, starting running back out. But I do think Harbaugh is good enough to scheme a running back to have a successful game in their offensive plan. Also, the Miami secondary is pretty bad. This could be a good game for the pass catchers of the Chargers. This Miami Dolphins team's in disarray. Chargers win and cover.
All right. Thanks, Brad. Thanks for coming on. Have a great week.
Take care.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all three Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Are we going to sit here today and acknowledge that the Indianapolis Colts right now are the best team in the AFC?
They are right now.
They can run the football with Taylor. They got a competent quarterback the way he's playing right now in Daniel Jones. They are well coached.
They never punt.
They never punt.
They never punt.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I told you Vladimir Guerrero would hit a home run. He hits a home run on his first pitch. 2-run shot, 2-0 Jays. And I gave you Suarez earlier. I'm telling you, Scott. Contreras last night, Story the other night. Bro, every night I've been hitting these home run props. And not the easy Ohtani ones at old plus 190. Right. These are plus 450s, baby.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Florida State put up 498 rushing yards on this defense. 8 rushing touchdowns, and they almost averaged 10 yards per carry.
Tough scene.
I mean, you got to be kidding me. It should be 60 to 7.
Yeah. Give me the 7.
I just gave you the 7.
Exactly. And
are you
the
on
extra
this?
Point. I'm thinking field goal and maybe a
but
safety.
But are you on
Joe.
this? This is
Over
your best
3.5.
Okay.
Didn't you read the screen? What are you not paying attention to the show?
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Time now to preview a few games in the National Football League. We call them the primetime games. The Sunday night game, Lions and Chiefs, Commanders and Bears on Monday night. And do we consider a game in London a prime or even primetime game at this point? I'm not sure, but we'll do it here in the SportsGrid Sound Off. Well, the Chiefs back-to-back primetime games, loss on Monday night in Jacksonville. Now they get the surging Detroit Lions on Sunday night. Dan Campbell seems to have done his homework on this team. He did his afternoon press conference yesterday, broke down every single facet of the Kansas City Chiefs, even threw out some numbers of the players as well. Really impressive. Take a listen.
They got a really good system. They're good at it. They've evolved, to the point now where they've kind of seen everything. They kind of do everything. They're very good at it, very disciplined. Offense starts with the quarterback, man. They got speed on the perimeter. This back is a violent runner, and he's got juice. This is it's a good offensive line. And then defense, they got 95 there in the middle. He's disruptive. I think Bolton's an outstanding linebacker, key diagnose. He's all over the field, smart as hell. McDuffie's a good player. Cook's a good safety. I mean, they got a number of guys. 56 can get on you. So it's a big challenge. Special teams, they play hard, man. They play fast over there. So we got our work cut out for us out at Arrowhead. Great environment. Sunday night, against a champion. This is this big-time opponent. These guys know how to win. And so, man, we're looking forward to this. This is another one of those. This is why you do it. This is why you're in it. And, man, we love this stuff. So
should be a good game on Sunday night. If Monday Night Football is your fancy, as they say. Does anybody even say that anymore? That's an old man word. Commanders and Bears, Monday night. Can't wait to see this one, especially to see if the Chicago Bears can actually beat a pretty decent team. They got the opportunity coming here, and they had a bye week, so they're well rested, and that means some navigation around some off days. Here is Ben Johnson, head coach of the Bears, about figuring that out.
I don't know if there's any secret sauce to it, to be honest with you. These guys, I'm pretty pleased with how they approached it. I don't think a whole lot of them went out to Cancun and went partying or anything like that. I think a lot of them stayed local, and they just wanted to get their bodies right, wanted to get sleep back in order. And so they should be feeling fresh right now. We had a couple extra route sessions, but that's as much conditioning as it is just being on the same page, hooking up. But no, it's each week's its own deal. I mean, love to have another 40-point game, but it's one of those things you never know. We got to go earn it. We got to have a great week here in terms of our preparation, and then we got to go out and execute, hopefully better than we have the previous 4 weeks. And so that's what we're looking to do. I really don't think of it anything coming off the bye or anything like that. It's just we're on to the next one.
And finally, the New York Jets have a chance to go undefeated overseas. 1-0. This is their shot this week. They're 0-5. Things can't get any worse. Or can they? They play the Broncos in London Sunday morning. Here's Aaron Glenn with a preview.
Listen, I really love the idea of us getting away, get a chance to get in this hotel, be able to vibe together as a group, be able to understand exactly the things that we have to do or what we have to work on to improve on where we're at. And our guys are doing a really good job of that. Listen, we know exactly where we're at. We're not hiding from that fact. Yes, we are 0-5. We understand that. And we understand that we have a lot of work to do. And we're not running from that at all. Offensively, running the ball has been something that we've been hanging our hat on. It's been really good. I think Justin's been good as far as passing the ball. I think Tanner's doing a really good job of mixing the run and pass when it comes to that. Defensively, we got a lot of work to do, and I understand that. And listen, every day we're chopping wood to make sure we get better. And the players understand that, the coaches understand that. And it's my job to make sure all three phases are above board. And we're going to continue to work our ass off to make sure we get there. Listen, we say it's a long season, but we know how these weeks continue to compile. And we have to make sure we get out of this hole that we're in. And we all understand that.
It's funny when you see Aaron Glenn's press conferences from before the season started to now, the confidence level, I mean, he brings it, right? To these press conferences, you think, wow, this is a chance, a big team. And then all of a sudden, you look at him now and they're 0-5. It's hard to see anything or hear anything that's coming out of his mouth and believe it. It's just very hard to do. I feel bad for the guy. 0-5 to start. All right, coming up next, we will dive into the latest in college football. We'll bring in our guy, Paul Stone, to break down several games on the college football slate, including what used to be called the Red River Rivalry. Is it still called that these days? Yeah, I guess it is. Less luster, though. We'll have it for you next.
football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Are we going to sit here today and acknowledge that the Indianapolis Colts right now are the best team in the AFC?
They are right now.
They can run the football with Taylor. They got a competent quarterback, the way he's playing right now, in Daniel Jones. They are well coached.
They never punt.
They never punt.
They never punt.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I told you Vladimir Guerrero would hit a home run. He hits a home run on his first pitch. 2-run shot, 2-0 Jays. And I gave you Suarez earlier. I'm telling you, Scott. Contreras last night, Story the other night. Bro, every night I've been hitting these home run props. And not the easy Ohtani ones at old plus 190. Right. These are plus 450s, baby.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Florida State put up 498 rushing yards on this defense. 8 rushing touchdowns, and they almost averaged 10 yards per carry.
Tough scene.
I mean, you got to be kidding me. It should be 60-7.
Yeah. Give me the 7.
I just gave you the 7.
Exactly. And
are you
the
on
extra
this?
Point. I'm thinking field goal and maybe a
but
safety.
Are you on
Joe.
this? This is
Over
your best
3.5.
Okay.
Didn't you read the screen? What are you not paying attention to the show?
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Great to have Paul Stone back with us here on this Thursday to preview some of the upcoming games in college football against the spread. Paul, once again, great to catch up with you this week and can't wait to break it all down. Thanks for coming on. And, you know, what I like about this week, Paul, is kind of feels like in this first game, you got to put yourself out there here a little bit with not really knowing the quarterback situation. I've seen a lot of different lines, by the way, in this game. I've seen Oklahoma favored. I've seen Texas favored. And it's all surrounding their quarterback, John Mateer. So, from a handicapping perspective, I think it's probably a great question to ask. How do you do it, Paul? I mean, where do you sort of come and land on a play here? Because now Texas is favored again after the injury report came out yesterday with a total of 43.5. I don't think anybody would doubt that Oklahoma's the better team here. But if they don't have their quarterback, it's a tough handicap.
Yeah, I think you just use your intuition and your just kind of your senses. There's a lot of guesswork involved, though, as I think we'd agree, Craig. You know, it's a guessing game. John Mateer, I think he was listed questionable on the initial SEC injury report last night, but there's no punitive component there for coaches, so they can say whatever they want to on the availability report, in my opinion. But John Mateer is a guy who broke his hand in that victory over Auburn on September 20th. Didn't have the surgery until 4 days later on September 24th there in Los Angeles. So he would be just 17 days removed from not only hand surgery, but to his dominant throwing hand, his right hand, which would be incredible. But these guys are tough. And John Mateer wants to play. He's a Texas guy, grew up just north of the Cotton Bowl, Little Elm High School, about 35 miles from the Cotton Bowl. Didn't get recruited by either of these schools out of high school, but he would love to play in this game. And I'm starting to get a feel that he's going to try to go. And it might just be a case of pain tolerance. How much of the playbook can he execute? Can he throw the ball effectively? Those sort of things. If he doesn't go, true sophomore Michael Hawkins, probably more of an athlete than a quarterback at this point. He started 5 games, I believe, for the Sooners in his career, 4 of those last year. Considerable drop-off from Mateer to Hawkins. But in either case, I'm going to step out on a limb. I like Oklahoma +1. They got a great defense. I think that uber-talented defensive front's going to get the best of that Texas offensive line, which is really struggling, a much beleaguered offensive line. Florida, before playing Texas last week, we were talking about the Gators' victory off air. In their 3 losses to South Florida, LSU, and Miami, Florida only had a total of 2 sacks. A total of 2 sacks against the Longhorns. They had 6 sacks of Arch Manning, consistently pressuring him. The pressure rate was 59.5%, the highest pressure rate on any SEC quarterback all season. This Oklahoma defense, 9 sacks and 14 tackles for loss against Auburn. I think Texas is in trouble on Saturday. I like Oklahoma +1 over the Longhorns.
I mean, Texas has just simply not looked good since the beginning of the season, almost at all. So it does make sense. Flip the script. Boy, Alabama's quarterback has really come on here. And since that first game of the season, honestly, has any team played better than them in college football, Paul, given the opponents? I'm not sure. Crimson Tide, 3.5-point favorites, total of 52.5 in a place that Missouri has circled now for quite a long time because, you know, the Tigers need this one if they're going to stay alive in that SEC chase. Noon Eastern game. How do you see this one playing out?
You know, first of all, the scheduling spot favorable for Missouri. They're off a bye. While they're off a bye, Alabama is facing upstart Vanderbilt in a much anticipated rematch after the Commodores upset Alabama there in Nashville last year as a 23-point underdog. And the week before that, Alabama went to Georgia. So Alabama's off back-to-back tough matches against Vanderbilt and Georgia. But still, when I look at this game, we've got a pretty good idea of who Alabama is. They played some real football teams, and they've played well since that loss to Florida State, as you pointed out. But we're still at least somewhat guessing about this Missouri team. You know, they really hadn't played anybody. They're undefeated at 5-0, but they played all their games at home. They've played against the schedule currently ranked as the nation's 150th toughest by Jeff Sagrin, which is not very tough. We're going to find out quickly, though, just how good the Tigers are as they get into the meat of their SEC schedule. You look at their two competitive games, their two better opponents, Kansas and South Carolina. They trailed both those teams at home early in the fourth quarter. Ultimately defeated both, obviously, but trailed both those teams early in the fourth quarter. Kansas and South Carolina, they're top 30, top 40 good, but they're not Alabama good. I think Alabama's going to go in there behind the arm of Ty Simpson, who, as you kind of alluded to, playing as good as any quarterback in the country. And I think they're going to win this one by more than a field goal. Give me the Tide -3 over Mizzou and Como.
Yeah, a lot of folks have said if Ty Simpson's last name wasn't Simpson, it was Manning, he'd be like -150 to win the Heisman right now. It's kind of funny. Okay, so a matchup of two teams in the top 10 that maybe we wouldn't have predicted at the beginning of the season, where the Indiana Hoosiers have to travel to the Pacific Northwest to take on Oregon, a 3:30 p.m. Eastern start. Dan Lanning's team is 7.5-point favorites, total of 55.5. And so, again, trust factor not all the way there, you would think, for Indiana. I mean, you got that hook sitting out there. That's really the key to this wager, I think, here, Paul, is if you believe they could win by 7.5, then you got to believe they can win by a lot more than that.
Yeah, that's true. Certainly the line is critical here. You know, I think as sports bettors, Craig, if we're honest, we sometimes ask ourselves, maybe even say it out loud, I wish I knew then what I know now. And that certainly applies to Kirk Cignetti. That guy has been a money maker at the betting window. 13-5 against the spread his first 18 games at Indiana. Before that, in 5 seasons at James Madison, he was 40-22 against the spread. So combine his stops at Indiana and JMU, 53-27 against the spread. But what he hasn't done in 18 games at Indiana is cover a game as the betting underdog. It's a small sample size, only the 2 games. But last year, late regular season, went to Ohio State. They got off to that 7-0 start, led, I think, 7-0 after the first quarter. But after that, all Ohio State. The Buckeyes won 38-15. Then 4 weeks later in the college football playoff, they traveled to South Bend to play Notre Dame as 7-point underdogs. The Hoosiers scored 2 touchdowns, if you'll recall, in the final 90 seconds to make it a 27-17 misleading final, but didn't cover that game either. So Indiana, they've been good against the cruiserweights. They've even been good when they've stepped up to the light heavyweight division, but they haven't fared so well against the heavyweights in the sport. I think Dante Moore, I was really impressed with his performance in the whiteout game at Penn State, the victory over the Nittany Lions. I think Oregon going to take care of Indiana by double digits. Give me the Ducks -7.5 over the Hoosiers.
Yeah, so Paul likes Oregon there to lay the number, and again, total 55.5 in that game. Paul, just to kind of expand the conversation on the season overall, since we have you here, we've seen quite a bit of shifting at the top University of Miami has gone from a top 15 team all the way to number 2 in the country with some impressive wins, finally going last week, going on the road and beating a team like Florida State. In terms of the way that you see the top 3, top 4, 5 teams in the country, do you feel like they stack up the same way for you, where you have, basically Ohio State, they're going to play their bigger games later in the year, you have Miami, and then a lot of others jockeying for 3, 4, and 5?
Yeah, what I've got my power ratings here just for reference in case we ask any questions like this. I've actually got Miami, Ohio State, and Oregon at the same power rating, a power rating of 92. Not that that means anything to anybody, but I've got those 3 teams right at the top. So Miami has been, the surprise at the top maybe of college football. They're clicking on all cylinders. Carson Beck has regained that 2023 form he had at Georgia the second half of the season. They're playing great defense. Their defensive ends, Reuben Bain might be the best defensive player in all of college football. Just a big-time team right now that doesn't appear to have any weaknesses. So those are definitely the top 3. I think Texas A&M and Oklahoma with the healthy John Mateer are teams that could be, flies in the ointment for sure. They're two of the better teams as well in the country.
All right, Paul, good luck with all the plays this week. Again, Paul Stone Sports online, and Paul joins us each week to break down games here on NewsWire. Thanks again, Paul, for all the opinions. Really appreciate it, and we'll catch up again next week.
Hey, thanks for having me, Craig. Everybody have a great weekend of college football.
All right, Joe Lisi is coming up next, and we'll touch on some more games in college football and some pro as well. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
If you're O'Connell, you have a serious decision to make. Like, what is, again, he's been hurt now in back-to-back years, McCarthy.
Yeah.
You don't know what you have.
100%.
This is a similar situation to what the Niners did with Trey Lance. Like, if the guy can't stay on the field, and again, limited, you have to do what's best for the organization.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Florida State put up 498 rushing yards on this defense, 8 rushing touchdowns, and they almost averaged 10 yards per carry.
Tough scene.
I mean, you got to be kidding me. It should be 60-7.
Yeah. Give me the 7.
I just gave you the 7.
Exactly.
Are you on this?
Point. I'm thinking field goal and maybe a
but
safety.
Are you on
Joe.
this? This is
Over
your best bet? Okay.
Didn't you read the screen?
I
What are you not
could
paying
barely
attention
read
to the show?
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I can tell you right now, Jamar Chase is getting moved on a lot of teams. And I understand why. I mean, you don't have Joe Burrow coming back this year. It's just not happening. And then Jake Browning has been less than impressive. There's no doubt about that. So Jamar Chase is still an extraordinary talent, and I think buying him low is interesting. Why? Because if you do look, the schedule does get a little bit easier. The defense is still bad. Jake Browning has been productive.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Basically a year's worth of starts at this point, because remember, Drake May was not the starter out of the gate during his rookie year last year. That was Jacoby Brissett. There have been some, encouraging performances and, I think some flashes of what could be upper echelon talent within the scope of the league. But going into this year, it was, we're going to find out.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Let's continue our college football discussion with our very own Joe Lisi, who you can catch all over SportsGrid's network, including this weekend getting everybody ready for college football and on game day as well. Hey, Joe, great to have you back here on NewsWire ahead of the games here. Football every day, it feels like. Last night, tonight, Friday night, Saturday, every day, Sunday. It's a great time of the year for us because a lot of people love betting on football. So naturally, it makes the conversation fun. So I hand the ball over to you in the Southeastern Conference for one of the bigger games of the week. Arkansas taking on Tennessee. This is the staggering number here. We're going to show it to you right now. So Tennessee minus 12.5. Okay. No one freak out. 68.5 total. Joe, in the Southeastern Conference, a 68.5. Not in the old Pac-12, Pac-10, but in the SEC. Is Arkansas's D really that bad? Are they going to let Tennessee put 40 on them easy?
It's possible, Craig. Now, from the series perspective, Arkansas has won 4 straight in the series. They knocked off Tennessee last year in Fayetteville, 19-14. That was with Nico at the helm. But Joey Aguilar is one of the best quarterbacks, not just in terms of the SEC, but in all of college football. This offense, from a tempo perspective and just from a total yards perspective, is averaging close to 500 total yards per game. They're explosive. They can run the football and work off of play action. But on the flip side, you have an Arkansas offense led by Bobby Petrino, now the OC, but also interim head coach, that's averaging over 500 total yards per game. Taylor Green, to me, is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in all of college football. He can run it. He can throw it, completing well over 60% of his passes. I like Arkansas with the points plus the 12.5, but it wouldn't shock me if this game gets into the 80s. Both offenses are that good, and I expect them to display that Saturday afternoon in Knoxville.
Georgia will take on Auburn, and this is a game that is way different, okay? Because we saw Auburn a couple of weeks ago against Oklahoma. They couldn't get out of their own way on offense. Their line was just falling down completely. Georgia's got to be a mad football team. Saturday night, Jordan Hare, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. This is always a close game in college football, but can Auburn block those defenders on Georgia from getting to Jackson Arnold?
Well, it's an interesting line. And so you look at the series perspective. Georgia has won 8 straight, Craig, in the series. The last 4 they've won by an average margin of victory of 20.2 points per game. They won last year in Athens 31-13. So we're seeing 3.5s now creep up into the market. This is an above average Auburn defense. The problem I have with backing Auburn here is Jackson Arnold, the quarterback. He's going to have to make plays over the top. He's not Ty Simpson. He's not some of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. He struggled with consistency. He's a better runner than he is a passer. And I just like the way Georgia's playing right now. They got back to basics. They ran the football and were able to dominate a Kentucky team. They hang on for the cover. Most books had 20.5s right before kickoff. They win it right by margin, 21 points. Now they go on the road. It's the SEC's oldest rivalry. Maybe Auburn's live for a half, but I can only look to Georgia. I will say typically this game is played at 3:30 Eastern time. Now we're seeing a late kick on the Plains in Auburn, 7:30. Maybe they're up for this matchup, but I think the offense for Auburn's up against it. I'm laying the wood with the Bulldogs.
I'm still convinced the toughest place to play in all of college football is at night at LSU, and that is indeed the case. Although in a little bit of an earlier start time here, so under the lights for the first couple of hours here, Joe, when South Carolina visits and takes on Brian Kelly's squad here. And, you know, Joe, I got to be transparent here. I thought Lenore Sellers was going to be the Heisman Trophy Award winner. To me, I still think he's going to be one of the top picks in the NFL draft coming up, because I think when he hits that combine, you know what's going to happen. Everyone's going to look at him and say, you know, what the bleep happened to South Carolina? So I think that's the danger zone for me here by taking LSU, because I think Sellers at some point is going to pull off a massive upset and have a great game. I just don't know if it's going to be this week.
Well, he abused them last year. I think when you look at this matchup, Craig, if you remember like week 2 or week 3, this game played out in Williams-Brice, and South Carolina had LSU on life support. They needed a miraculous fourth quarter effort to pull that ball game out. South Carolina had an opportunity to kick a game-tying field goal. They missed it, and LSU prevailed. They didn't cover. It's basically a 5.5, 6-point favorite on the road. We're seeing 8.5s pop up. LSU coming out of a bye. South Carolina got the victory over Kentucky. Lenore Sellers back. He seems to be 100%. But LSU typically struggles with mobile quarterbacks. Trinidad Chambliss abused them on the ground. You could go back to last year. Jalen Milroe and Marcel Reed gave them problems. This is not going to be an easy game for LSU. I think they win it. But what I like in this matchup, Craig, I think they blow through the 44.5. Caden Dorm's back for LSU. Garrett Nussmeier gets an extra week to rest his so-called, beaten up body. I think LSU can throw it over the top, but I think we have points aplenty. Give me over 44.5.
Finally, Ohio State at some point, Joe, will be challenged, and they won't cover in a game. I don't know when that's going to be. But this week, they're on the road taking on Illinois. It's an early start. Some folks think maybe this is a look-ahead game. We know that the Buckeyes are a better team than the Illini, but this is a massive number to cover. And, one of those kind of games where you probably know at the half, Joe, if you're going to get it done. Ohio State's very tough to fade, but I just don't know when that game is going to pop up that they eke one out. It's coming soon.
I'm willing to take a shot. It's this weekend, Craig. Now, I don't think Illinois wins the game. I think it could be right on the number 14. So at 14.5, I'm willing to take a shot with Illinois. Best hands-down defense through week number 7 is the Ohio State Buckeyes. We see Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Smith having that quarterback to wide receiver relationship, a dynamic performance against Minnesota. But I think the blue-collar rushing attack of Illinois could slow down the tempo, keep saying in that offense on the sidelines, make it a 4-quarter game. I don't think this looks like the last 2 games that they played against Indiana and USC. I think it's similar to an old school Big Ten game. Give me Illinois plus the points.
Joe, as always, great stuff and looking sharp, by the way, I may add, on our show today. Better than me. We can't have you on looking like that. No. You're looking better than me.
No. Come on. I love talking college football with you. I will say this week shapes up much better than what we had last week.
Okay, good. Looking forward to that. Catch Joe Saturday right here on Sports Grid. Thanks again, Joe.
If you're O'Connell, you have a serious decision to make. Like, again, he's been hurt now in back-to-back years, McCarthy.
Yeah.
You don't know what you have.
100%.
This is a similar situation to what the Niners did with Trey Lance. Like, if the guy can't stay on the field, and again, limited, you have to do what's best for the organization.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Florida State put up 498 rushing yards on this defense, 8 rushing touchdowns, and they almost averaged 10 yards per carry.
Tough scene.
I mean, you got to be kidding me. It should be 60-7.
Yeah. Give me the 7.
I just gave you the 7.
Exactly. And
are you
the
on this?
Point. I'm thinking field goal and maybe a safety.
But are you on
Joe.
this? This
Over
is your best
3.5.
Okay.
Didn't you read the screen? What, are you not paying attention to the show?
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I can tell you right now, Jamar Chase is getting moved on a lot of teams. And I understand why. I mean, you don't have Joe Burrow coming back this year. It's just not happening. And then Jake Browning has been less than impressive. There's no doubt about that. So Jamar Chase is still an extraordinary talent, and I think buying him low is interesting. Why? Because if you do look, the schedule does get a little bit easier. The defense is still bad. Jake Browning has been productive.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Basically a year's worth of starts at this point, because remember, Drake May was not the starter out of the gate during his rookie year last year. That was Jacoby Brissett. There have been some, encouraging performances and, I think some flashes of what could be upper echelon talent within the scope of the league. But going into this year, it was, we're going to find out.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. The NBA season is almost upon us, just a couple of weeks away. Is there a chance that the NBA could eventually see some competition from another league? It kind of feels like that's an opportunity that could potentially succeed. We've seen the Big Three and some other leagues come and go. We also seen a lot of players go get paid a lot of money overseas as well. So that's just one of the different issues and subjects that our friends at Front Office Sports are going to cover on the show today. And the other part of this that really makes it interesting and challenging is why Maverick Carter, the great agent, is not involved in this potentially new league. So let's check out our friends at Front Office Sports. They're going to tell us whether or not another basketball league could potentially succeed locally, as we would say here in the United States. It's not directly associated with the NBA, like the G League or any of those others they've tried in the past. Here is Front Office Sports on that.
Bring in Ben Horney, author of the Asset Class newsletter. So Ben, tell us the latest on this, and why isn't Maverick Carter involved here?
Yeah, so this originally was a Maverick Carter-backed basketball league. That's what the headlines were months ago. I think February or January is when it first came out that he was advising a group of investors who were trying to raise $5 billion to form this international basketball league. Details were sparse. What we found out is that Maverick Carter is no longer involved. He apparently hasn't been for months, we were told by a spokesman for him, but that the project's still moving forward. Right now they're calling it Project B. We don't know if that will be the formal name or what. And yeah, they're planning this international basketball league that they expect to launch next year.
So this league, tentatively known as Project B, does have a lot of athletes and stars that are backing it, from the tennis side of Djokovic and Sloane Stephens to Candace Park from the WNBA, Lauren Jackson, former football player Steve Young, and others, including from the business aspect, not even just sports personnel, but no LeBron James on this list. Of course, as an NBA player, he could not even have investment in any league or team. So what does this say about LeBron James not being involved, Maverick Carter not being involved, that maybe some of the smoke that we saw is not really anything there?
Yeah, so LeBron James was never involved as far as we know. Obviously, anytime Maverick Carter's involved in anything, the speculation is going to be that LeBron is involved, but supposedly LeBron was never involved, although LeBron was in that infamous boat photo that took place this summer, which is interesting because that was only a few months ago. I mean, time flies, right? But that feels like it was relatively recent, and we were told that it was about this plan. League. So the fact that Maverick Carter is now out, it feels like that happened, rather quickly and suddenly, and we don't know why. That's kind of the big question that we're still trying to figure out: is why did Maverick Carter leave?
So the other large question, and you mentioned this in the piece, is that this group wants this international league to happen sometime in the fall of 2026. So a year from right now. But it seems like there's still a lot of open-ended questions about structure, infrastructure, players, all these other sorts of things. How are they going to be able to get this off the ground in 1 year? And who could even play in this thing if they have an existing NBA contract?
Yeah, so it does seem difficult for NBA players to play. You could imagine that maybe there are people that are unsigned or recently retired. I'm sure that we can pull big names out of that. The infrastructure, it's still a question. They want to play these tournaments in Europe, Asia, Latin America. They're doing 5-on-5 basketball. They really were highlighting the women's basketball side of it, although they do say that they're going to launch with men's and women's basketball. And in fact, they have even larger plans. They want to do other sports eventually. So they're really trying to rock the whole world of sports with this. They're working with some very notable, not just the investors, but Elena Beard, who's a former WNBA star. Candace Parker is involved. There's a lot of, heavyweight people involved. But to your point, we don't know exactly how it's going to work, how it's going to look, where exactly it's going to be played. They keep touting that it's going to be the high-level competition and that we are going to have the best of the best. So who exactly does that mean? We don't know yet.
So unlike leagues like Unrivaled, which are 3-on-3, as you mentioned, this is a 5-on-5 league, men's and women's tournament. Also, I know there were talks about giving players equity as well, components that have been things players have wanted and asked for in their respective leagues. So looking at this Project B, do you think it's more of an impactful league negatively on the WNBA, or it would have better impacts on an NBA Euro League as a threat?
Yeah, well, so it does seem like I don't know if you would use the word threat, although maybe you would, but the WNBA does seem more, let's say, at risk, because you could see, WNBA salaries, we all know, Caitlin Clark made $76,000 or whatever it was. I can't remember if that was this year or her rookie season. But the salaries are so low compared to NBA salaries. So you could see female athletes, if they are going to pay them commensurate with what they're claiming they will, which they didn't give us specifics, but they did say they'd have equity in the league. Why wouldn't they go for this? And so you could start to see talent being siphoned off into this league. Again, NBA, it seems difficult. Salaries are so high in the NBA.
if you're O'Connell, you have a serious decision to make. Like, what is, again, he's been hurt now in back-to-back years, McCarthy.
Yeah.
You don't know what you have.
100%.
This is a similar situation to what the Niners did with Trey Lance. Like, if the guy can't stay on the field, and again, limited, you have to do what's best for the organization.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Florida State put up 498 rushing yards on this defense, 8 rushing touchdowns, and they almost averaged 10 yards per carry.
Tough scene.
I mean, you got to be kidding me. It should be 60 to 7.
Yeah. Give me the 7.
I just gave you the 7.
Exactly. And
Are
miss
you
the extra
on this?
point. I'm thinking field goal and maybe a
But are
safety.
you on
Joe.
this? This is
Over
your best
3.5.
bet? Okay.
Didn't you read the screen?
I
What are you not
could
paying
barely
attention
read
to the show?
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I can tell you right now, Jamar Chase is getting moved on a lot of teams. And I understand why. I mean, you don't have Joe Burrow coming back this year. It's just not happening. And then Jake Browning has been less than impressive. There's no doubt about that. So Jamar Chase is still an extraordinary talent, and I think buying him low is interesting. Why? Because if you do look, the schedule does get a little bit easier. The defense is still bad. Jake Browning has been productive.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Basically a year's worth of starts at this point, because remember, Drake May was not the starter out of the gate during his rookie year last year. That was Jacoby Brissett. There have been some, encouraging performances and, I think some flashes of what could be upper echelon talent within the scope of the league. But going into this year, it was, we're going to find out.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
We're holding Donnie Rightside hostage from his afternoon nap to appear with us on NewsWire. He was on this morning, of course, on the early line, and he's kind enough to give us about 15 minutes of his time before, a little nap time, a little lunch time as well. Donnie, great to have you here on NewsWire once again. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, love it. Look, Saturday, Sunday, Monday were bad times in Philadelphia. Got a little bit of that sun back in our life last night. You got the Eagles playing tonight as favorites, and also the Phillies. A new lease on life. The boys are back, Craig, and I'm excited.
Yeah, a lot of runs scored there. We'll see if they can do it again tonight. But let's start in the American League before we get to the National League. Felt inevitable that the Blue Jays would win the series once they went up 2-0. Credit to the Yankees for, diving back into the series again, but not sustainable with the way that they have been playing. And by the way, I don't know that the Blue Jays offense is sustainable. They've been tremendous in the postseason. They hit 9 home runs thus far, 33 runs driven in. Vlad Jr. is playing like the guy that we thought he was going to when he came up to the big leagues. And they've got all these little bit players that are just crushing the ball, like Clement and some other guys. It's just great. Without Bichette, they're doing this too. So that's the final, 5-2. The Yankees go home. Let's focus on the positive here and focus on the Blue Jays, Donnie. Can they go deeper than what they've gone thus far? What do you think?
I mean, you're riding a hot streak, and I get it. And throughout the ebb and flows of a Major League Baseball season, you're going to play well and you're not going to play well. I just look at that lineup and say, boy, they are overachieving right now. Yes, you need your superstars to step up, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is doing that. Bichette needs to come back to that lineup because sustainability, I don't know. Can you ride this all the way through? I guess you can. But let's just say it's, Seattle that you're going to face in the next round. I'd still put Seattle over the Toronto Blue Jays at that point. And then if the Blue Jays make the World Series, let's just say it's the winner of this Philadelphia Phillies series, and you still get a good team in the Phillies and or the Dodgers. But let's just say it's the Brewers. That team's been unbelievable all season long. I love the story of the Blue Jays, but to me, Craig, I look at the team on paper and look at the results and say, sooner than later, something has to give, and I do think it's going to give in the playoffs here. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to get past the ALCS.
The way that it would happen would be Vladimir Guerrero Jr. continuing this torrid pace. He's 12-1 to win the World Series MVP. He's playing as well as his dad. He's playing like a Hall of Famer right now, carrying the team. You can see it. You can sense it. But can it continue? Can one guy do this throughout? Still remains to be seen. Meanwhile, tomorrow night, we're going to get the matchup we've been waiting for, which is everyone asking for Tariq Skubal to start in a massive postseason game. Buckle up. Friday night, it happens. They're favored on the road at Seattle. Only way that this could happen is if you have the best pitcher in baseball, and that's what we have here. And look at that number, Donnie. The temptation 5.5 runs is the total. 5.5 in a baseball game. And by the way, it's probably going to go under. It's probably going to go under, I would say.
The ultimate hands-on-deck game, right? Again, that we're talking about. Winner goes home. Winner moves on. The loser actually gets to go home. But understand this, too. Like, Tarek Skubal, it's not as if the first time that they're going to see Seattle Mariners with that. The Seattle Mariners have had some pretty good success going up against Skubal. But also, like, you're going home for Seattle. Like, yes, this is fantastic. Well, who's on the other mound? Just anybody but the best pitcher in baseball? Oh, no, it's the best pitcher in baseball that you're going up against. Look at this, because here's what we love. Hey, playoffs, all hands on deck, 60, 70, 80 pitches. I would not be surprised, Craig, if Skubal, if he needs in a close game, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2 type game, he's throwing 120-plus pitches in this game for all hands on deck from him, not the bullpen themselves. I still trust the Mariners. I think they can wait out Tarek Skubal in this game. But the fact of the matter is, if you're going to go on the road and take on Seattle, the only pitcher I'm asking for outside of maybe Paul Skeens, probably just be Skubal. Let me roll with this guy. If we win, fantastic. If we lose, tip my cap. The Mariners were just a better ball club.
Yeah, he's probably the only pitcher that's left right now in the postseason that you would say that about, with Zach Wheeler not out there. So the Phillies, speaking of Zach Wheeler, of course, he's not in this series against the Dodgers. Man, they could use him tonight. But, let's just be honest. The Phillies game last night against L.A. felt different. It felt like the Phillies were just not going to be comfortable going up a couple runs and put their foot down. And we're like, we're not done. We're going to keep mashing. And finally, this is the way the Phillies played during the regular season, which is just tacking on these runs and making it impossible for teams to come back. Last night, Schwarber hits a couple home runs. Good night for Trey Turner as well. Bryce Harper also with a solid night. And this is the only way, Donnie, that they're going to be able to beat the Dodgers. Because if it's a close game, 3-2, 2-1, you kind of get the sense that the Dodgers are going to be able to find a way to win those games. They have to outslug, and they got it done last night. I wonder what will happen with the pressure now kind of shifting back to L.A. today.
And I hope it's not what happened to the New York Yankees, right, Craig? Like, wow, everybody's hitting again. Vibes are good. A bullpen game that's setting up for the Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah, how did that work out? Like, Schlittler was really good last night. 6 innings pitched, only 2 runs given up, but they couldn't score at the plate. But I like the fact that sometimes, Craig, you just need to get the vibes back. In Philadelphia, high-pressure situation for the home team, expectations to win. They're struggling. The crowd starts to get on them. Sometimes it's nice to get away at that point, and it felt like more of the same, though. You open up that game the first 3 innings. Oh, no, look at this. Yamamoto's going to throw 7 innings pitched, 1 hit, no runs, and the Dodgers win. And then all of a sudden, 1 swing of the bat, which was a mighty swing by Kyle Schwarber, and everything felt right again. They tack on a couple runs that inning. Bryce Harper's always going to be aggressive on the base pass. Took a huge risk and probably is going to get thrown out. Bad throw to third base, goes in the dugout. He scores. Bohm goes over to third base. And then also the next play was Marsh gets an RBI sacrifice fly, and things were good for the Philadelphia Phillies. And also, sometimes you have the all-hands-on-deck game. It's like, okay, Nolan's going to start, Suarez is going to come in, and then 3 more guys out of the bullpen. You got away with a lot of low-leverage situations late in that game where now you say, all right, Sanchez is in. All hands on deck, and everybody's fresh for game number 4 to try to force a game number 5. I think the Phillies are in a good spot tonight, Craig. I do.
6:09 Eastern. One side note to that, and obviously there's wins and there's losses, but unfortunately, future Hall of Famer Clayton Kershaw, not really sure that we're going to see him again. I would doubt it after what happened yesterday, unfortunately. And he's had a great career. There's a reason why the Dodgers are not starting him in the postseason. There's a reason he came in that situation too. Hate to see that, but I think it's just a reality at this point for his career. Okay, the Cubs bullpen comes through yesterday, striking out 6 in a wonderful environment, very intense, all the way right down to the finish. And so now game 4, where the Cubs are going to be playing under the lights at Wrigley Field, and again, a low total game. 5.5 is the total in tonight's game, where the Brewers are slight favorites. We know the Brewers do not want to go back to Milwaukee to have to win a game 5. They've got to win tonight, Donnie. That's my opinion on this one.
They absolutely do. And I look at that 7 runs. Now, yesterday we had a wind blowing in. Today it's more of a crosswind, but not a heavy crosswind, Craig, 5, 6, 7 miles per hour. So I do think we get more offense than we saw yesterday. And by the way, 4-1 in the first inning. You thought they would go way over the total with double digits. Credit those bullpens for shutting it down, particularly even on the Brewer side of things. You had a no-show pitcher show up yesterday in Priester, and the rest of the way said, okay, let's handle it and see if we can get back in it. A 4-3 victory. I don't like Boyd on the mound today as a lefty. I'm telling you, I love that Brewers lineup. Not a lot of superstars, but everybody everybody fits together, getting on base, quality outs, if that makes sense, and also getting clutch base hits. I think Milwaukee handles their business today as a slight favorite at -120, but it should be a good one again, man. This is so much fun to watch you play out in such a historic ballpark like Wrigley. And by the way, Craig, why are the Phillies at 6 o'clock and the Cubs at 8 o'clock? I'm not complaining.
Weird.
Because I like to go to bed early at this point, so I appreciate it. But it's just interesting that the West Coast team is at 6 and the team in the Central is playing at 8 o'clock tonight. Interesting stuff, or 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I the only thing that I could think of there, maybe this is my baseball hat on, is that if the Cubs, okay, so let me think this through. If the Cubs were able to win tonight, they get on a 1-hour flight back to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
If Philly wins tonight, they got to travel across the country, and maybe that's the deal there. Or maybe Major League Baseball just, feels like the market in Chicago tonight is a promising game for ratings. I'm not sure. Before we close it out and get to football, has anything changed in your opinion since the beginning of the postseason to now on any team, any prediction that you made or any opinion?
Yes, the Brewers were a good team all season long. Donnie, the best record in baseball. I really think the Brewers are the best team left standing. I understand the star power of the Philadelphia Phillies, the star power of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Something just clicks for Milwaukee. Now, we'll go a long way if Milwaukee loses tonight, gets pushed to a game number 5, and anything happens. But it's easy to say, I think Milwaukee is the best team in baseball, Craig, and all throughout the regular season. I actually didn't think that.
Let's take a quick time out here on NewsWire. Donnie's going to stick with us. We got some football to discuss next. And what I'm going to do is during this break, see, I get a little teaser as to what we're going to discuss here, and I can see it. I'm seeing a game where I just cannot believe that this is the point spread here. I no offense, Frank, I got to check my phone to make sure that one of these lines are accurate. NFL game. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
If you're O'Connell, you have a serious decision to make. Again, he's been hurt now in back-to-back years, McCarthy.
Yeah.
You don't know what you have.
100%.
This is a similar situation to what the Niners did with Trey Lance. If the guy can't stay on the field, and again, limited, you have to do what's best for the organization.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Florida State put up 498 rushing yards on this defense, 8 rushing touchdowns, and they almost averaged 10 yards per carry.
Tough scene.
I mean, you got to be kidding me. It should be 60 to 7.
Yeah. Give me the 7.
I just gave you the 7.
Exactly. And
are you
the
on this?
Point. I'm thinking field goal and maybe a safety.
But are you on
Joe.
this? This is your best bet? Okay.
Didn't you read the screen?
I
What, are you not
could
paying
barely
attention
read
to the show?
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I can tell you right now, Jamar Chase is getting moved on a lot of teams. And I understand why. I mean, you don't have Joe Burrow coming back this year. It's just not happening. And then Jake Browning has been less than impressive. There's no doubt about that. So Jamar Chase is still an extraordinary talent, and I think buying him low is interesting. Why? Because if you do look, the schedule does get a little bit easier. The defense is still bad. Jake Browning has been productive.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Basically a year's worth of starts at this point, because remember, Drake May was not the starter out of the gate during his rookie year last year. That was Jacoby Brissett. There have been some, encouraging performances and, I think some flashes of what could be upper echelon talent within the scope of the league. But going into this year, it was, we're going to find out.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Donnie Rightside back with us one more day, and then we're back to the football weekend here on SportsGrid. So get ready for that. Let's break down some games with Donnie here, games we haven't touched on yet this week, as a matter of fact. I'm actually looking at a couple of lines for the first time, which is rare for me. Usually I get to today, and I've seen some of these lines, so this is good reaction from me. We'll see what Donnie reacts to here. We'll start off with a game in New Orleans as the Patriots take on the Saints. Line does feel right. New England -3.5. Total 45.5. I could probably make a case, Donnie, honestly, for both sides here. I mean, New England is playing very good football. That's obvious. But Saints are a different team at home than they are on the road. When New Orleans goes on the road, I'd probably just fade them even if the line is 15. You saw what happened in Seattle a few weeks ago. They got absolutely pummeled. But they are at home here. Do they stand a chance to beat New England coming off that emotional win, or is this just New England keep going and play good football?
I think New England can win this game, but I understand where you're coming from in this spot. You also take a look at New Orleans. Where did they win last week? They were at home. They didn't have to travel anywhere, and it's not a huge win like, oh, we saved our season at this point. They're just trying to put wins on top of wins, or basically quality performances there with a new regime. Spencer Rattler I thought was decent, but the New York Giants helped them out, Craig. I mean, we turned the football over every single drive for the New York Giants. You only helped out New Orleans. But here's the key, and I don't want to say New England is a young football team. That's not fair. Most teams in the NFL technically are young, but you're young at quarterback with big victories, meaning you saw Drake May go on the road on Sunday Night Football, play a really good football game, and come away with a win over the Buffalo Bills. Now you transition and go on the road against a team that you're supposed to beat. And understand this. This spread's been 3.5 all week here, Craig. We're taking a look at 6 out of every 10 tickets coming in on the Patriots with that line hanging at 3.5. I do think the Patriots win, but for me, not enough to cover the spread. You might say, well, Donnie, what do you mean? Win? They win by 3. I get that. But this is the perfect letdown situation for the New England Patriots after climbing the mountain and beating the Buffalo Bills. Good football teams win this game and win it going away. I don't know if I trust them to do that. I think they win, but not enough to bet on, Craig.
Yeah, I'm not big on the Saints at all, but it seems like a decent spot for them. And again, when they go on the road, I don't want to have anything to do with them. I don't think they can hang. Okay, so this is my fishy line of the week for sure. So it leads me to believe that the side that I think is the right side is the wrong side, Donnie. Titans taking on the Raiders, traveling to Las Vegas. Now this line is not 5.5 anymore; it's 4.5. And I guess it's like, if I'm thinking this through here a little bit, Donnie, I understand the Raiders are not good, but Tennessee should not have won last week. They got the ultimate gift. 2 gifts. A running back fumbling, running into the end zone, and their own players kicking the ball into the end zone, which led to them losing. So I suppose while the line looks insane and everyone is going to run to take the points here, I'm guessing that is probably not what I'm going to do, because I'm just not seeing this one. I don't get how the Raiders can be 4.5. Odds makers know what they're doing.
They do know what they're doing. And by the way, this look-ahead line was like 6.5. We're down to 4.5 to some spots, even 4s and 3.5s, depending on where you're shopping at, which is an alarming line. But understand this. Like, the Titans would be appealing, Craig, like they were last week. Give me over a touchdown. Hey, play close, late touchdown, get you in that game, and you can cover the point spread. You're asking the Titans at 3.5 and 4.5 now to go in the football game and basically win. I don't know if they can do that. And you know the ebbs and flows of the NFL better than anybody, where you're taking a look and say, what happened last week? Embarrassment for the Raiders. Public, I don't want anything to do with the Raiders. Hey, look at that. The Titans showed heart last week and won a football game. You're right, Craig. DeMarcado does not drop that football on the goal line. That game probably stays 28-6. How you feeling about them going on the road this week again? Oh, same old Titans at that point. Yes, you give them a little bit of effort for bouncing back, but you're also right. Dropping the football at the goal line, fumbling an interception, which would have given the win to Arizona and the cover last week, which they didn't get. And understand this too. In the NFL, it's hard. Back-to-back weeks on the road, which the Titans are going to have with a rookie quarterback. The line is screaming for everybody to take the Tennessee Titans. I got to tell you, the contrarian in me, as much as I hate the Vegas Raiders, you should be taking the Vegas Raiders this week.
Yeah, feels like the right one. And by the way, the key for a game like this also is making sure I think Max Crosby is healthy, but that has been the issue for the Titans. Those tackles have not been able to block anybody. Of course, Arizona doesn't have anybody on the outside. Maybe that's why the end of the game got screwy there. Okay, the Cincinnati Bengals, I don't understand this one at all with all the different options and backup quarterbacks. They chose Joe Flacco. I get it. Flacco beat Green Bay in Green Bay with Cleveland a couple of weeks ago. Speaking of lucky games, the Packers are 14.5-point favorites. I mean, you're telling me they couldn't call the Giants and get one of those 2 guys, or call your old buddy Nick Foles or something? Like, I don't understand this one at all. I think this is big trouble for the Bengals here. And by the way, I'm worried, Donnie, that they're going to tackle Joe Flacco once the wrong way, and then they're going to be back to Browning again. I didn't understand that signing or that trade at all.
Yeah, you know that, like the cracks in the dam, always the jokes with the old cartoons there, where you take the chewing gum and put it in, and another hole leaks there through the wall. That's what we're getting here from the Cincinnati Bengals. Because here's what I wanted to say: we don't need a young, dynamic quarterback. We don't need a Hall of Famer coming in. Like, Joe Flacco's a good quarterback. The one thing he can't do, Craig, is move in the pocket. It's a bad offensive line for Cincinnati. It doesn't work well. And also say goodbye to the running game. Joe Flacco's going to be in shotgun probably more than 70% of the time. You can't run the ball consistently out of the shotgun formation. Is Jamar Chase going to like it? T. Higgins? Probably, because Joe Flacco will throw the ball 70 yards downfield and give you opportunity after opportunity. But I would like them seeing to get somebody who can move around in the pocket and manipulate the pocket and still deliver the football. They didn't do that. When the trade first went down, like, oh, that's intriguing. But I'm with you. The more I look at it, well, wait a second. Look at the passer rating. Look at the touchdowns. Look at the interceptions. Look at the way Flacco was playing during his tenure here in Cleveland this season. There's not really any upside here. I don't think this saves the day at all for the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, I don't think Winston would have saved the day at all either for Cincinnati. No. But I think at least the games would have been competitive. The thing with Flacco, we saw it already once. I said this before at the beginning of the season. Yes, Flacco is going to lead Cincinnati to some wins. But when things go wrong for him, Donnie, like it steamrolls. It becomes like a 51-0 type game. And I just think that that's going to be on deck. I don't know if it's this week, but it could eventually be on deck, I think, for them. All right, tonight's game, you got your Eagles real quick. I mean, the Eagles is very simple for me, Donnie. I've mastered the art of breaking the Eagles down here. If you could just tell me which half they're going to show up, I'm going to make a lot of money because they don't play two halves of football ever. Which one is it tonight?
I don't even think they need to show up for a half, maybe a quarter, and you beat the New York Giants. This is as bad as an offense as you're going to find in the perfect storm for the Philadelphia Eagles. And also understand this, rookie quarterback on a short week against a veteran defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio. I can't see the Giants scoring more than 17 points tonight. They're not going to win. I don't like taking sides. I like taking props. But -7, if you can find it out there, that's a pretty solid play on the Eagles. Eagles win this game, let's call it 24-14, somewhere in that range.
All right, Donnie, thanks again for coming on. Enjoy your Phillies and your Eagles tonight. Thanks again. It'll be a busy night for you. Donnie staying up late tonight. Uh-oh. That's trouble for the early line.
Ooh, 8:15, tough scene, man. I got to get some fluid in me, man. Come on, Craig.
Give him some naps for Donnie. We'll be right back.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
I'm done with the Buffalo Bills, and I'm not upset about it because they look vulnerable. I cannot believe this team is 4-0 because they could easily be 1-3. They're on their heels, and I can't believe they have not one but 2 double-digit victories in games they could have very well lost.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are we going to sit here today and acknowledge that the Indianapolis Colts right now are the best team in the AFC?
They are right now.
They can run the football with Taylor. They got a competent quarterback, the way he's playing right now, in Daniel Jones. They are well coached.
They never punt.
They never punt.
They never punt.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Question, where's the $100,000 going? Like, if they're going to give it to Amari DiMercato as an apology? It does give us a little bit of insight, though, into that moment. Like, I wondered what Gannon had said to DiMercato there. It obviously did, cost Arizona a football game in a division that they cannot afford. But that is an interesting one.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
All right, as we get ready to wrap up our show for this Thursday, hopefully you'll be back tomorrow for our program. We got a lot of fun stuff getting ready to preview the weekend in both college and pro football. But as we wrap up today with some last licks, we'll talk about The Yankees exit out of the postseason, a new billionaire athlete, and the WNBA season could be coming to a close after last night. It is time now for some last licks. Alex Rodriguez in a suit. That's what you see there. You may remember that Alex Rodriguez once upon a time played for the New York Yankees. And, you know, some people watch the post game and the pregame. Generally speaking, I don't watch a lot of that stuff. I did catch some of it yesterday. So on Major League Baseball's network, they don't, get too controversial. They usually are just, pretty bland, don't really, go in on guys, things like that. But Fox does a little bit more than that. And so on Major League Baseball on Fox last night, it is Kevin Burkhardt, one of my favorite broadcasters, and he's the host, moderator. You also have Alex Rodriguez, you have David Ortiz next to him, and then you have Derek Jeter on the end. And so A-Rod, a former Yankee, was talking about the Yankees being ousted last night after the game, and very surprisingly, I think to some, said that none of the blame for the Yankees' loss should be on their manager, but it should come on the roster construction, which, by the way, doesn't mean that A-Rod is wrong at all. But it definitely goes right toward pointing the finger at their general manager, Brian Cashman. He said it was one of the worst constructions of a roster that he's ever seen. You have 3 left-handed catchers and 5 DHs. Now, Derek Jeter, they panned over to him on the camera, and Derek Jeter didn't really say anything, just kind of like looked at the camera, and that was it. But A-Rod coming for, a little heat there at the end of that. Did not expect to see that. Obviously, that's not going to sit well with the Yankees. I don't think A-Rod really cares. He's a minority owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he's got other companies and things going on. But I don't know if this gives A-Rod a little bit more street cred or less. I'm going to guess that it gives him a little bit more for being critical on a broadcast, which you almost never see. So good job there. Let's go now to soccer. And you may be surprised, because I am, that the athlete in the world who has become the first billionaire is Cristiano Ronaldo. I did not know that, and I did not have that on my bingo card. So after his contract that he just signed, it means that he's the first athlete to ever earn $1 billion playing sports. Now, there are other athletes that have gone on to do other things, and one that comes to mind, and I'm not sure if he's a billionaire or not, is Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson, a tremendous entrepreneur who's had all kinds of companies and has been president of the Dodgers, Washington Commanders. I'm not sure if he is a billionaire, but he's probably close, but he didn't do that earning money through sports. He's done it through entrepreneurship and other things. Ronaldo is the first ever to do it directly through sports. So put him on the list as a billionaire playing sports, which I think we would all love to be. Finally, the WNBA postseason is getting ready to wrap up, and that's because of what happened last night. With just 2.2 seconds left in the game, the Las Vegas Aces were taking on the Phoenix Mercury, and they turned the ball over to Asia Wilson. She hit the game-winning shot, and the final score in that one was 90-88, which means that Las Vegas is on their way to another potential title. They lead 3-0 right now in the best-of-7 series. Last night, Wilson had 34 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 blocks as they take a 3-0 lead over the Phoenix Mercury, and they are now 1 win away. And generally speaking, you know what happens in sports. Teams that go up 3-0 usually sweep, or they end up winning the series. So we could potentially crown a WNBA champion this week. And with the NBA season starting up, we continue the basketball conversation, of course, here on NewsWire when that begins in just a couple of weeks. And that, my friends, will do it for our show today. I want to thank all of our great guests for coming on the program, including Joe Lisi, Donnie Rightside, and also Brad Thomas for breaking down all the games. And also don't forget to check out Paul Stone Sports and his website as well for all the college football picks. Coming up tonight, it is Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid. They'll have a preview of the Phillies and Dodgers. First pitch thrown out at Chavez Ravine at 6:08 Eastern. So make sure you catch that one. And then 9:08 Eastern, they're under the lights for a playoff game at Wrigley Field, Brewers and Cubs. If the Brewers win, the series is over. If the Cubs win, they'll play a Game 5 in Milwaukee on Saturday. Thanks to our director, Luke, and for my producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Make sure you tune in to our next edition of NewsWire here on Friday as we get you ready for all the NFL and college games coming up this weekend, and a recap, of course, of everything that happened in baseball as well. Have a great Thursday, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.